So some of you guys will know Ramone. Hey guys. All right. So Ramone was come to the club in 2017.
That's correct. Yep.
2017. Good guess. 2017, played for our senior men's team. Was here with us in the 2018 season where we went through the QPL undefeated. And Ramone also that year coached for the academy in our development program, so worked with our under-9 development team. And we've now got some of those kids that were in that under-9 development team playing in our SAP teams and in our academy teams as well. So did a really good job in that space as well. So, and I'm hoping to get him back one day once his work with his other thing falls back and his daughter starts to play. He's just had a young daughter, so when she starts to play, she'll become a player at Power, and we'll get him back to coach then, hopefully before then, hopefully. But I'll give you a little introduction on Ramone, so we'll roll through it as we go. Ramone started his junior football at Redlands United, so he's a local Queensland boy. Lived at Cleveland, played at Redlands United right through his junior career, and played senior men's football at under 16. So I want to ask you, Ramone, what was that like playing senior men's football at 16?
Yeah, it was great. It was tough. Being 16, you're quite young. I believe I was just finishing high school. Still at high school, just finished. So it definitely was tough going from being a junior player to then playing with men. But you learn a lot and you learn quite quick, made me the player that I was at the time and set a really good platform. So, it was tough going from a boy to a man. But you definitely learn a lot and I was fortunate enough to be able to learn and cope with it.
Yep. So as a junior player growing up, did you play up age groups?
I did. It wasn't until probably under 15s. We had quite a good group. So I come through the normal range, playing under 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, and I think it was under 15s where we had a talented group of boys and I was playing at Lions at the time, and we actually played up a year and then started playing up 2 years. And then that was only due to the very talented group we had. So, from a younger age, I found it very beneficial to play upgrades. So I think if you're young and you're playing against older opponents, it's definitely beneficial in terms of your football development. Can be a bit scary, but definitely helps with your development.
So from there, you earned representative schoolboy football. So you played in the Queensland schoolboys and then into the Australian schoolboys setup. What was that like?
Yeah, no, it was absolutely amazing. I think for a lot of footballers, like a lot of our young academy players, school football's fun. We play a lot of football at school, and I went through. I played Metropolitan East boys football. I went from there to play, Queensland schoolboys football. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in Cairns playing. Queensland won the tournament. I was lucky enough to be picked for the Australian schoolboys team, and that was in grade 11. And then, from there, I was fortunate enough in early grade 12 to tour with the Australian schoolboys team. So we went to England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. Got to play against their England schoolboys teams, the Ireland schoolboys teams, played against a couple of academy teams like the Celtic academy team, the Everton academy team. So at a young age, I was fortunate enough to experience, the level of football that was not only here, but the highest level of football here, but also the level of football in Europe and what it would take to be a good player and play at the highest level. So it's I was very lucky to experience that at a young age.
From there, you went on to the AIS, so you got an 18-month scholarship at the AIS. AIS is a full-time program. You live there, obviously, yeah?
That's correct.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and it becomes your life.
Yes. Yeah.
What's that like having that environment to hone your football skills?
Very, very important. For any young player looking to develop themselves as a footballer, you really need to be practicing every day. You need to love football, just like all the exercises and the skill challenges that you guys are doing in the academy. It's extremely important to be practicing your juggling, training every day, and that's what we're doing at the Australian Institute of Sport. Everything was about football, and just like any profession, to get better, you had to practice and practice and practice. So, the Australian Institute of Sport was great. We played with, our team consisted of a lot of different players, from New South Wales, Victoria, Northern Territory, Queensland. So, you got a lot of diverse footballers, kids coming from different backgrounds. So you got to test your skills, with different type of players. But it was all about football and education around football, and we all definitely benefited from that experience. Yeah.
From there, you decided to go overseas. Yeah.
Yes, that's
So
correct. Yep.
so he okay. So from there, you decided to go to try your hand in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you ended up in Portugal first. Yeah. Tell us where and what sort of journey you had, through there.
So from the Australian Institute of Sport, I left at the age of 19. From there, I got given an opportunity to go trial with a first division club in Portugal called Coimbra. And it was probably one of the toughest footballing experiences that I had in my life. I was a young 19-year-old kid. It was the first time I went to Europe. I went by myself, so my parents didn't come with me. I met a football agent at the other end, so at the airport in Portugal. I remember going to the football club, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I've walked into the change room, and I'm this young 19-year-old kid from Brisbane, Queensland, and there's a lot of professional footballers in this change room, a lot of big men. They look very good, look very professional. But once I started to train and play, it was different on the football field. I was obviously experienced enough to hold my own with men, playing with men, given my career up until then. But, looks aren't always what they are, is what I learned there in Portugal. So, once we started to train, it was difficult. No one spoke English. It was all Portuguese. So, the beautiful thing about football is, it's one language. If you know how to play football, and you can play your position on the field, and you can play football and understand it, you can survive anywhere in the world. So I went and trialled with this Portuguese club, the first division team, for 4 months. I then fell short of that first division spot. It was quite tough for me. I then went to their reserve team to train and play, but probably after about 5 or 6 months, I had to come home. It was my first experience, a great experience, but tough, which is what it's like, trying to make it as a professional footballer, playing in Europe. So yeah.
Moved on so after that you moved on Poland, Belgium, went to Germany as well.
Yeah, that's correct. So I from Portugal, I actually came back for a little bit, and played locally here. Had a bit of a run there with the Brisbane Roar, when the youth league was starting up, and then I did go back to Belgium first. So I played for a third division team in Belgium. That was Royal Racing Montagnier, and that was great. I played with a lot of international players. We had players from England. There was a couple of other Aussie players there, which was good. Belgian players, a couple of French players, which was good. But it was a very good experience. A lot of different languages in the team, but it was good because I wasn't alone. I had other players that spoke English. A couple of players from Australia, like I mentioned. But it was great. The football was different, very cold. Very fast. Very rough. So a different style of football to Australia. But I learned a lot. From there, I had a trial at FC Cologne, FC Köln in Germany.
This is now a Bundesliga club.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So first division German club, and I was actually trialing with their reserve team. So not the top team, their reserve team, and it wasn't until we went to the break during the trial that I got to speak to a few of the players. And it was quite funny because, at the time, I think I was about 21. I started talking to these players, and I asked them how old they were, and where were they in the league on the ladder. And I remember going there and trialing, and it was absolutely amazing. The players were quick, they were skillful, they were technical. They're at the standard of the A-League here. So the German Bundesliga reserve team was at the same standard of an A-League team here in Australia. But the difference is these reserve team players were 16, 17 years old. I was 21 at the time. So, I could see the different level, of quality in terms of playing ability. So for me, it was another eye-opener in terms of, the quality of first division, Bundesliga reserve team compared to all my experience up until then. So again, more experience and definitely a good experience. So.
Well, we returned home, obviously. Come back at 21.
Yep.
So and went into the A-League setup. So you were at a few different A-League clubs trialing, playing trial games and stuff like that.
That's right.
A-League clubs, which.
So I in terms of my A-League stints, I was one of those players that was always on the fringe, give or take, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Brisbane Roar for a fair few years on and off. Also North Queensland Fury, I went up there.
Played with Robbie Fowler, which is the current Queensland the Roar coach now.
That's correct. So I was up there, and that was an amazing experience to be able to sit side by side a Liverpool legend, Robbie Fowler, but also too just to see him training and the quality of what he was then, being on the back end of his career. It was amazing. So another great experience. I got to go to Singapore with them to play a couple of pre-season games as well. I was also part of the Gold Coast United. That was another interesting setup there. So a lot of good players. So we had Miron there and
family friends. We know Miron.
Oh, excellent!
My in-laws know Miron really well.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So Miron was there, and my coach, I was with the youth team, so I was there with Mike Mulvey and number of great players there, and very very good experience. So yeah, so I've had some good experiences there, being part of A-League setups and the professionalism of what the highest level is here in Australia. So yeah.
So after that, obviously came back and went into the NPL system. Yeah, played. Where'd you play before you came to Power?
I was at Olympic Football Club before I come to Power. Prior to that, throughout my career, I played there at Redlands United in the old NPL. But prior to coming to Power, I was playing at Olympic and had a couple of good seasons there. Olympic, always being one of the top four clubs. But I had a good time there, and Peninsula Power's old coach Terry Kirkman was my coach at Olympic, and I was fortunate enough to meet one of the sponsors, John Old, through Terry, and that's sort of how I started to have a look at Power and what Power was, and eventually come over to the Peninsula. I moved here, loved this place, the Redcliffe Peninsula, and join the pair and never look back. So.
Moving forward, so you've started a new program now, Glory Football. So tell us about, it's an Indigenous program for young Indigenous players, as well as other things. Tell us a little bit about what you're actually doing now.
Beauty, yeah. So with Glory Football, just like any football program, the reason why I started Glory Football was to encourage Indigenous kids within our community to start playing football, soccer. A lot of our kids gravitate and play NRL and AFL. Football's done a lot for me. It's taken me around the world. I've got to experience a lot of things. I still get a lot back from football. So that's essentially what Glory Football is a platform to encourage Indigenous boys and girls to play football. I then started an Indigenous football championship, so that brings a lot of teams from around Australia to it. But it's all about football and encouraging kids to play football and benefit from what football brings. So.
Getting kids active.
100%. That's what it's all about. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. All right. Okay. So hopefully. Ramone's at most of our top 10 games, comes down when he's in town. He comes to all our top 10 games. So if at any time you guys are around and you see Ramone down there, go and introduce yourself to him. He's a fairly big guy, but he's not, he's a gentle giant, let's say that. So go and introduce yourself to him, say hello, tell him what you're doing, we are, tell him you're in the academy as well.
If I can say something, Paul, I just want to say to all the boys and girls in the academy, I've been watching the progress of, all the tricks and skills challenges that you are doing. It's amazing to see. If I can say anything, keep it up. It's great what Peninsula Power are providing. It's great the dedication that you boys and girls are putting in. But if you want to keep getting better and better and better, it's all about practice. So keep practicing, and I look forward to seeing you guys progress, through the Peninsula Power Academy group.
Right. Well done. Thank you. Thanks, Ramone. The players in the academy. He's asked Ramone, what are the qualities that made you stand out from the rest of the players that were going around at the time, or that were in your position, or what qualities that you need to go to that next level?
Excellent question. I'm glad you asked. It's because the answer's quite simple. I was never a fast player. I wasn't the fastest on the field. We see today a lot of quick players who rely on their speed on the field. Which is great because we need to play to our strengths. So me not being a fast player, I had to figure out ways to be able to compete, against quicker players, more fitter players. So for me, it was definitely my skill, my vision on the field, and what really built up my skill and vision was simply juggling the ball. That's all I used to do. I used to juggle the ball. I used to watch YouTube videos of Ronaldinho, my favourite player, and other players. But the biggest thing was just juggling the football, left and right. I used to juggle the tennis ball, with my power development team, with the young lads under 8s at the time. That's all I used to get them to do was juggle, and left and right foot. And the more that you juggle, both the football and the tennis ball, the more control you have over the ball, because that's what the game's about, controlling the ball and having control over the ball, and the only way to be able to do that is juggle the football. So that was what set me apart from other players, was simply juggling and practicing my skill work with the ball. Definitely speed work, your endurance is something that you definitely need, but anyone can juggle the ball. So I definitely recommend for all the players in the academy system to fall in love with that football and make sure you're outside most days, practicing.
All right, thank you.